The crowd ready?
Crowd's good.
Yeah.
Libby Sanchez, that's right.
Heck yeah.
Like Libby said, thank you guys so much for having us out here. I know a lot of you guys last night that we were hanging out with said thank you to us for coming out, but we're so grateful that we have such an incredible community out here for beach volleyball in Missoula, Montana, of all places. That's not exactly where a lot of people would put beach and volleyball together. And me and Zana came out here last year, and pretty much on the flight back, we're like, how can we get back here again? And we've stayed in touch with Libby, sent her Christmas cards, didn't get it because I addressed it to Libby Sanchez. The mailman didn't appreciate it, but we made it happen. We're so grateful that you guys are having us out here. This is the first time we've ever done an in-person podcast.
Yeah.
And so like we've done it for 7 years with this show, we're winging it hard.
Yeah.
And huge shout out to Josh, by the way. Just comes out with the most badass mixer I've ever seen in his car. And so the way this is going to work, we're going to chat with Libby just about the culture of Montana beach volleyball for a minute. Love the Rogue mascots.
Yeah.
And then so she's given me some preloaded questions. And what I'll do is I'll call out your name. If you want to come on and ask the question in person, this will be the chair that you do it. Come hang out, chat. If you're a little shy, we have the question preloaded. I can ask it for you, so we'll give you a second. We want to start with you, Lib. So you are, as far as I know, the mayor and the queen of Missoula, Montana. And how have you seen this beach community grow? Because I've only seen it for 2 years, and it's pretty much doubled in size from this time last summer.
Honestly, it's not a mayor thing. This is a massive group effort. The past, I guess it's probably 6 years now, this grew from 7 years, Ron? How long is it? Yeah, about 7 years. It grew from 4 dirt courts to 6 sand courts. And it's all crowd-sourced fundraising. It's owned by the city, so this is 100% donation. Basically, we all own this, and so we all keep putting money back into it. We have a multitude of events that go on here. Some of our leagues are privately run. Some of them are run through nonprofits. Some of our tournaments are nonprofits. We've got 2 junior beach volleyball clubs now, where 4 years ago we had nothing in terms of juniors playing beach volleyball. So that's kind of you to call me the mayor, but this is a community effort, and it's simply because all of these people that you guys are here today. And as you can see, we've got so much talent in our volleyball community that we can pull out a mixing board from the back of the car.
Seriously.
I can call somebody up and say, oh my gosh, I need your advice and your help. We have contractors who poured the concrete to put these poles in. We've got so many great people in this community, and it's an if you build it, they will come.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are.
And here we are. So can everyone give a big round of applause for Libby? Because this event there's no way it would happen without you helping put it together. So a huge thank you to you. And if you would like to.
I just want to say thank you for tolerating me, because I can't tell you how many times I put in questions on the podcast or send him text messages or tagged him on Instagram, sounds like you're coming to Montana. I heard you say Montana.
Right,
Let's go, guys. Pick a date. We're here. Make it happen. So
I think we put it out there. We're hoping that someone would manifest it for us and give us somewhere to go, and you kind of did that for us. And so that's kind of what the podcast is about, is us being able to connect with fans, have the fans connect with the players on a deeper level, other than just what they see on the court, and vice versa, the players connecting with the fans. And this is a huge opportunity for us. We actually thought the tour would get off the ground in 25, because 24, well, I was supposed to be more busy right now. But this is way better. Kind of. But yeah, we're stoked to have this opportunity and to just do it and get it done right now. It actually builds a lot of confidence for us to be like, wow, we can do this and expand it for sure.
Well, if nothing else, you just keep coming back here.
That's fine too.
So Lib, do you want to get it started with the first fan question?
Let's do it. Yeah. let's do it. Who is there? Well, for me to ask the question.
Usually we get to filter through the questions. If we don't like them, we're like, no. You don't get to ask that. Now, we'll see what happens.
Well, first of all, I want to know when I get some like one-on-one time with Gabby so we can talk shop, because there's nothing cooler than, sorry kid's a badass woman who can handle a saw.
Yeah.
And I am so impressed with the work that she does. And I guess like my question to you would be like, how does that play out in your guys' household?
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, it's huge. Actually, the podcast wouldn't be what it is today without our wives. Like, they're a huge part of it. Definitely doing a lot behind the scenes. They've both been on episodes, but we're not builders. And we brought these guys in to give us the artistic look. She does everything. She built the whole set, and we're just like, whatever you say, do it. We're in. So it's a perfect little combination, a perfect little team, and we kind of like to. The whole podcast is just kind of catered to the people who are closest to it. So that's kind of what you're seeing. The girls are definitely a big part of it, and we're stoked on that. They carry us.
Shout out to the pod mamas.
Pod mamas and pod babies. Naya was not alive when the pod started. Hi.
All right, so for our next fan question, Andy Schwayan.
Andy.
If you want to come down, ask your question. Andy, yeah.
It's a long way down there for that chair.
It is. It is. Well, thanks for coming out and having us appreciate your podcast. But my question to you guys is, if you could go back 10 years and give yourself advice, what would that advice be, and why would it be impactful? Great question.
It's a great question. So 10 years ago, I had never picked up a beach volleyball. And my wife and I were actually just laughing about this because we talk about, in school they ask you for your 5 and 10-year plans. If you would have told me 10 years ago that I'd be sitting here in Missoula, Montana, because I'd been running a beach volleyball podcast with an Olympian, that I'd played professionally, that I'd written books on it, it would have been a complete joke. And so if I were to give myself advice 10 years ago, it's just, if you're excited about it, do it. Because that's exactly what's led me here. I've just chased excitement the whole way, where if an opportunity came up to go play a tournament and I was excited about it, I went for it. And there's this great saying that I love right now from Derek Sievers, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. And I've had a lot of hell yeses in my life, and it's led to a lot of different projects. And a lot of people ask me, how do you commentate, podcast, write, coach, play, dad, husband, whatever else? And it's because none of it is work. Like, I'll probably work 7 days a week, several weeks in a row, and none of it feels like work because I wake up stoked every day because I get to hang out with one of my best friends every day. I see Tri or talk to Tri every day. I get to watch volleyball every day. I get to be on the beach every day. It's such an incredible lifestyle. So in a short, long answer short, I'd say the advice put simply is, if you're excited about it, just go for it and see what happens.
Yeah, the fact that Travis still likes me after I brought him on the world tour with me this year, I was not that pleasant, I don't think. I don't like losing that much. I think Travis kind of nailed it. This has been a passion project from the beginning, and we did not think, at no point in the beginning we were like we're going to build a business and then we're going to try to make a living off of it or anything like that. So because we weren't trying to do it for any reason other than just having a positive impact on the sport, it's turned into something really authentic and genuine. And I think that's what makes us popular and makes people want to listen to the show, that it's all genuine and authentic. So, I mean, I don't know. I think more just acknowledging that's what's driving the show, that's what's driving the success of it, is that authenticness. And trying to apply that to my whole life, actually, because it's working pretty good for the pod.
So, Andy, thank you. Hopefully we answered your question.
Thanks, sir.
Next up, Miss Sarah Berkey. Yeah, Sarah. this is the one you got.
Is she getting a random question, or is this your question?
This is a random one.
Random, okay.
Yeah. I heard a rumor that people who live in California cannot drive a stick shift. Is that correct?
My guess is that Travis can't, but I can.
So I have a great story about my experience with the stick shift. So in it must have been 2018, we went and played a thing called snow volleyball, which was a concept, still is a concept. They tried to make an Olympic sport, and thank heavens it's not, because it is a terrible spectator sport, and it's so fun to play. But I had a call from Eric Zaun, and he says, hey, man, USA is going to send us out to Austria and Italy for 2 weeks, all expenses paid, to play snow volleyball. Rented a car and everything. So we get to the rental car place, and it's me, Eric, Chris Vaughn, and Chase Frischman. And first of all, Eric, with his permanent charisma, forces the bus full of the entire snow volleyball tour to pull over 10 minutes off the road to drop us off at the rental car place. So we get to the rental car place. They have no automatics, and none of us know how to drive stick, but we have to make it from Austria to Italy somehow. And so we're sitting in there, and the guy at the desk doesn't speak English, so we're YouTubing how to drive a stick shift as we're renting a car to drive across Europe. And so I draw the short end of the stick, and I learned how to drive a stick driving cross country from Austria to Venice, Italy, and then back again, and hated it so much that I didn't even fill it up for gas. I would literally shift it into neutral, drift into a parking spot, park sideways, and stall out. That was how I parked. And so Livy, before we come, she goes, can any of you drive stick? And I said, please, God, no. So Tri's right. I cannot drive a stick, but I have.
Yeah, I randomly learned over the years, and it wasn't pretty, but I just recently, last 2 or 3 years, drove the Amalfi Coast. If you know what that is, it's like the skinniest one-lane road through like the cliffs of Italy. It's beautiful, but like there's so little space there that the restaurants are built into the road. Like you drive through the middle of the restaurant. There's people eating on your right and your left, and the servers are walking across the road. Beautiful, amazing place, but like straight down cliffs. A cliff on your left, straight down cliff on your right, and I made it through. So I think that was a good test. I can do it. And we also went to South Africa once, where it was we're driving on the other side of the road, and the stick shift's over here, and your review mirror's over here on the other side, and I'm just used to going here. I'm used to having the feet are all off. And that was the biggest challenge. Anyway, I can do it.
So you can stay in the state then. You can get around.
I can stay here, yes.
I had another question about nutrition. A lot of us, it's not our full-time job, but we want to come and ball out for a full weekend tournament. And what are your guys' go-tos for your nutrition, like kind of the week leading into it, maybe the day of, or like that 30-minute pre-game, get it in you and get out there?
Yeah, I think it's a good way to look at it in terms of like eating a week out can be different than fueling for day of kind of thing. I think it's also really different for everybody. Get your nutrients in. There's good sugars and bad, sugars that aren't going to help your body as well, aren't going to process quite as well. We all know what they are. You eat fruit, it's pretty good sugar. A lot of the other ones, maybe not so good. But figure out what works for you. Just pay attention to how you feel. You eat the stuff a certain way for 1 week. How'd you feel? Like, take note of it. Obviously, it's our job to kind of do that, so it's easier. We've been doing it over the years. But I've learned a lot over the years for me, I have inflammatory issues. So like learned how to do the whole anti-inflammatory diet and then add in the things that I want to eat, but eating them at the right time. It's kind of work, and I don't think anyone really wants eating to be work, but life's not that easy, you just got to put in the work a little bit to figure out what works for you. But yeah, I mean, eat nutritious things that grow out of the ground. For me, a lot of good fuel is just the bird, fish diet, fish and chicken kind of thing before events. I love steak, but I'd wake up tired in the morning, like my body was working to digest it. Like this guy will hammer a whole steak and play a tournament, feel even better. But yeah, for me it's just clean eating, and I'm pretty good to go. Definitely want to keep. Electrolytes is huge for me specifically. Sometimes I get headaches. I take electrolytes every day with high sodium, which I've just learned. Like I said, you gotta learn yourself. I learned that you can take 3 times, 4 times as much sodium. I'm doing research too, and everyone's learning this, but you can take way more sodium than you thought. And for me, it's helped me with headaches and all kinds of stuff. So learn yourself.
Yeah, and like Travis said, it's super personal to everyone. Like you said, I will take down a 16-ounce ribeye before a tournament, and that's what gets me going. So I do a big steak and potatoes before a tournament, and also part of that's superstition, because I had steak and potatoes before I made my first main draw in Austin, and I said, it's the steak and potatoes.
We're very different athletes, like routine-wise, mindset. I'm trying to. We've taken a little bit from each other over the years. Like this guy will be smiling, win or lose. Like, did my best, all good. You don't want to talk to me after losses. Give me a few minutes. But yeah, very different.
Yeah, and then throughout the day, I'd crush dried mango, bananas. I'll go through an entire bag of Trader Joe's almonds. I have trouble eating big meals. I'll see Taylor Crabb take down a foot-long sub, and I'll have a handful of almonds, mangoes, bananas, and that's good for me. And then at night, I will be starving. So it's just everyone's super different. But like Tri said, I think whole foods are your answer. Fruits are your answer. Then if it's some kind of lean meat and a carb the night before, I think that's kind of pretty universal.
Yeah, I mean, also, some people you don't want your eating to stress you out. Stress isn't good for your body either. So if you're like on this strict regimen and you're just like stressed out all week because you're like, oh, I really want it, I'm craving that, but I didn't say that. I told myself that I was going to eat that earlier in the week, and you're just stressed out about, like, you're not doing yourself a favor. Like, you're trying to play better and be in a better mindset as well. We all know that the mind is probably more important than mind controls the body. So you got to take care of that first. And so you don't want to stress yourself out with it either. Give yourself a break a little bit. Some players have definitely erred on the far side of just being way too strict and over the top. You travel the world, or you travel even here, like the healthy spot might be closed, but you're still going to play. Just go get dinner tonight and then get back on your healthy diet next time. You don't have to beat yourself up over it.
And for anybody who gets self-conscious about it, April Ross, Huntington Beach, fueled with McDonald's. Works for April. It can work for you in an emergency. Probably not super sustainable.
Did she say that publicly? She did now.
Sarah, thank you so much. Next, John Henry Anderson.
April's also breastfeeding currently, so she just needs calories.
Just calories.
Hi, guys.
Hey, buddy.
You can plug some Big Sky as well.
Oh, I'm not sure I'm going to do much recruiting. Right?
Yeah, tell us about your club a little bit before we get to the Q&A.
Our club. We were going to start in 2020, but the pandemic hit, and so we started in 2021. My wife and I are part of an indoor club called Big Sky in Bozeman, Montana, and we've been coaching most of our lives and playing indoor, beach, grass, wherever we could play. Now it's mostly beach. I went to our club director and said, hey, I want to do this, and she's like, awesome, go for it, all you. And so I kind of used the club to kind of recruit some girls, and we had like 34, 35 girls that first year. And it was quite the shock when you're teaching these girls, like, you can't tip. And they're like, what do you mean you can't tip? And, you can't take the first serve with open hands, and that kind of stuff. So it was really interesting, but I had a handful of girls that just absolutely loved it. I've had kids, we went down to a P1440 national championship in Florida 2 years ago. So just as a coach, I learned a ton. I've got pairs now that, they know. It's like, hey, if you want to go, volleyball life, there you go. Like, there's an unlimited number of tournaments to go play. And so they'll go to Arizona, Seattle, all over California to go play. So it's been fun. It's fun to have those kids that are just ready to go that next level and try and get a college scholarship. So 4 years in, we've got 70 plus kids signed up, and some kids it's just One of my favorite stories I tell, honestly, is the parents, they'll come up to me at a tournament just like this, actually, and they're like, oh my God, this is so much nicer than indoor. There's not a whistle blowing every 3 seconds. There's not screaming like the sun's out. And it's like, yeah, the beach culture is amazing. It's why we've embraced it like we have.
Until they get the cold rain day.
Well,
And they're
right,
like,
then there's always
"Oh,
that.
This is kind of brutal." They're sitting in the car the whole time.
Yeah, right, yeah. So it's fun to watch the girls just giggling and having fun, and it's definitely a much more chill atmosphere, which I think the kids love, the parents love, and us coaches, we love doing it. So, yeah.
Bigger and better things. Man.
Exactly. Yeah. Speaking of that, didn't lead right into the question, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Tri.
Hot seat.
Yeah, exactly. What's next? What's the season and next year look like for you?
Mm-hmm. Think I know what you're getting at. Well, what's next? I've been trying to figure that out for a bit. I've been kind of taking a little mid-season break after we didn't qualify for Paris, which is frustrating and just the challenge in itself. Because when you're going for something, you're like, you don't really think about the other option of not making it, right? You don't plan for that part of it. So me and the fam kind of just been taking some time off to figure out where we're at and how we want to go about the next phase of the career. So we went to Tahiti. That was our way to do it.
Perfect.
It worked.
Nice.
But yeah, in terms of my partnership with Chaim, like he and I, it's such a unique thing. He and I have like the most respect for each other ever. The way that he went about his business, the way that I kind of expected him to and he expected me to was just like on point. Guy works super hard. He does everything the right way. Like if I had an idea, I was like, hey, I think this could work. We could get better. Yes, every time. And same for me. Showed up to every practice, never late. Literally, I can't name one thing the guy did wrong. And hopefully he's saying the same thing about me. But the energies just didn't link up based on us two or the timing of it or whatever it might be. We just didn't feel like we were getting the best out of each other. Maybe our personalities are too similar. Sometimes it's better when you have that contrast. But yeah, so we broke it off before I went to Tahiti, so I didn't have it on my mind. And then I went to Tahiti trying to figure out, just chill out, clear the mind, see where I'm at. Obviously talk with Gabby a bunch. And then I came up with the answer that I didn't even expect. And I haven't announced it yet, so this is the announcement. But there was a few people calling, a decent amount of options out there that are fairly high seeds. And for some reason, based on where I'm at right now, I'm not going for a high seed. I'm going for someone that's ranked probably, do you know his ranking? Maybe 40 or 50?
Yeah, probably lower than that.
maybe lower. I decided to kind of take on a new role, kind of circle back in my career, come full circle in terms of going with a younger player who has inexperience, who I believe is really talented. This guy, he actually reminds me of myself a lot. He's this skinny blonde guy from Hawaii, and but he's really talented. He's got that Hawaiian touch, that I'm very proud of. Us, the Hawaii guys, just have a lot of ball control, and he kind of reminds me of like a Taylor Crabb in terms of side out and his perfect arm swing and all that. He's got some work to do to match Taylor Crabb defensively, but my point is he's got that skill set, and I'm just like so excited to see him improve. And when I'm talking to my family or people like Trav or whoever, they're all like, you kind of light up when you talk about playing with him as an option. And I'm like, yeah, like I don't want to light up because that's like really hard. I have to pick up someone with less points. We're going to be dropped way back in the rankings. Might have to qualify for Chicago. But I'm like, I got to do something that feels good for me at this point and just going to give me that energy and excitement. So I decided to play with Ryan Wilcox. Does anyone know who that is? Few of you? Only because Huntington maybe, right? Or because I mentioned him. I told you guys. I'm really putting my money where my mouth is right now. So we're going into it like completely different. I learned so much. Probably the hardest time for me and Chaim, and there's so many other factors to us not playing to our potential. We literally set the bar at like wanting to be like essentially the best team in the world. And so like, how do you you can win. We had so many good wins, but like in our minds, it was always losing unless we're at the very top, which is very heavy weight to carry. So I've learned a lot, and I think the new approach is just a little more of the Travis, where do your best, and whatever the outcome is what the outcome is. And sometimes I try to grab the reins too hard. I make everything perfect. We can't lose if we do this. We have this coach. We have to do this. We will not lose. And that's just not the case. You can't control it. It's better to lead with your heart and what you're feeling and all that. But there's no regrets too coming out of it, even though it was difficult times to make these changes. But I'm excited, and that's kind of the goal, was to get excited about playing and going forward.
Yeah, it's funny because when he came back from Tahiti, he was like, "Good Vibes Tri is back." And I was like, "Man, I've been waiting for you to be Good Vibes Tri for 6 years."
And then what did I say? I said, "I'm a stubborn mother effer."
And that's why we love him. So Tri Bourne and Ryan Wilcox, that's the next team. John Henry, appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
And good luck to Big Sky.
Yeah.
Next up, we got Mark Anderson.
Mark.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, buddy.
Shout out, Mark.
Big Sky's finest.
So Brody was telling me about this kid's ball control. And I was like, all right. I mean, he's a sweet kid. He's probably just talking him up. And I'm serving Mark, and he's just like, boom, dime, sky ball, dime, cut shot, perfect. So you got talent.
As a boy in a state without boys volleyball, how do I get from where I am to where you guys are?
Love that. What a great question.
That's an awesome
Travis,
question.
you got to start because you're from Maryland.
Yeah. I grew up in a state with zero volleyball, and I don't recommend my path, both for your parents' sake. I don't recommend you move to Florida and then move to California. My mom would not recommend it either. What I can say is that from the very small sample size I've seen from you, is that you're doing all the right things. You're out here, you're playing one-on-one with Brody, you're messing around, you're touching the ball, you're around the game all the time, it seems. I think the more exposure you get to, and actually my wife and I laugh all the time because my son is 14 months old, and he is never going to be able to catch a ball because all he sees is people get hit by the ball. And so now we'll throw a ball to him, and he'll just sort of swat at it, because he's only exposed to beach volleyball. And I think when you have an opportunity to play a tournament, play everything you can. So one thing that we used to ask all of our guests on the podcast before we had to stop asking it because the answer was redundant, we'd say, what's one piece of advice you'd give to an up-and-coming beach volleyball player? And without change, everyone said, play every tournament you can. If there's an opportunity to play here, play in Bozeman, play at Nationals in Orlando, if you guys can get out there, play it. How I got better, when I was so bad in Florida that no one would play with me, and I had a $12 replica ball from Walmart that I thought was real and it wasn't, I found a wall and I passed. What I would do is when I would go lift, I would pass 100 balls against the wall, and that was my rest. And then I would pass 100 balls with the right hand, 100 balls with the left. I'd poke 100 with the right, 100 with the left, and I would set. And you just get all these weird, funky touches. And when you have that kind of volume, improvement becomes inevitable. And then you become the type of person that people want to play with, because I want to play with you because you pass perfect. That's my kind of guy I want to play with. And so just the more you expose yourself to the game, your improvement becomes inevitable.
Love that. Yeah, for me, I'd say I think it's so cool. Like when I was younger, I just loved professional athletes. I didn't really think about beach volleyball as my goal, and it doesn't matter if you do. Like you already love it, and you saying you want to, be in position where we're at. That's great. But what I think really got me to where I'm at is just being where I was at. So like for me, going from where you're at to, let's just say, in school years, going from the intermediate team, like I just want to make JV. Like just work on that next step ahead of you. And then the next one after that, and the next one. If you're still passionate about it, just work on the next one. And then by the end of it, you'll end up where you're meant to end up. I think I just didn't know that I was that good at beach volleyball. I didn't know that if you're good at beach volleyball in Hawaii, then you're probably really good everywhere else in the world. And I was just playing with my friends and all that. And when I was playing in high school, I got really good. My only goal was just to make a college team. And then somehow I made my way up to, being a top college player. And I was like, it'd be cool if I could make a pro team. And then I worked on that one. And then I was like, well, maybe I could go play on the beach. And then I worked on that one and achieved that one. And it's just been a bunch of steps climbing that ladder. And it's authentic to me, like what I was saying earlier, is playing this sport. And if you have passion for it, then you're going to end up right where you belong.
We're excited to see where you end up, buddy.
Yeah,
Thanks for the question, Mark.
Thanks, buddy.
Next up, we have Jamie Martin. Now I want to know which question you're going to ask.
I'm off the hot seat.
We're tabling that one. So mine is just a little bit of insight into how you guys train, particularly when you balance doing drills versus competing and playing.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's an accepted, a sweet spot that most people say is, 50-50 in your training and that.
Right.
So I'm curious what you guys think.
Well, we got the coach here, so he'll give you good insights on that. But for me, I think I'd like to give you an exact answer, but it really is kind of custom to each player. Like Travis has had to adapt. Coaching is hard, especially coaching top players. He's had to adapt his practices to me probably minutes after he just wrote the practice plan because of where I'm at in that day and what's going to stimulate me. And I need to feel like I'm learning and growing. And that's the exact reason he wrote the drills on the paper. But then I'm like, I feel like I need to calibrate the arm and do this. He's like, okay, I guess I got to switch my whole entire practice. Great. Thanks. But my point is there's no perfect cookie cutter. Everyone kind of needs different stuff. John Hayden was known for 3 days a week on the sand and 3 days a week in the gym. For him, gym work was more important. Obviously, that was later in his career because he knew if he came on the sand and did super high quality reps, he liked to drill. 10 in the corner, 10 in that corner, 10 in that corner, do this, bang, 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 we're off the sand. Just high quality, that's all he needed. And it was actually more gym work. It was about him putting together a body that could handle the workload. Obviously, later in his career, he had to tweak it. Every year, he changed it. And it was, whether it was more reps or usually more work in the gym for him as he got older. So I think early on, play more, like he said. All the athletes say, when I was a kid, I just played a lot. I got tons of reps. And then as you want to progress, and I think our bodies are changing so much through, being young and then to your mid-20s, even towards 30. So if you're in that phase where your body's still really growing and you're just pushing it super hard and you got back problems and stuff, which I did have, it can be too much, So finding that balance for yourself is important, but I think both need to exist in terms of the on-the-court stuff and then taking care of your body. I like 4 days right now. I'm kind of at the 4 days on the sand kind of spot. 4 days on the sand, 3 days in the gym. One of those days in the gym might be a little less intense. Ideally, I wanted it to be 3 intense days in the gym and 5 on the sand, but my body was like, no, you're good on that. Let's throw in a few film sessions. So the mind's still growing, but the body can rest. My point being is it's changed over the years so much.
I think, like Tri said, and pretty much every question can be answered with it's so personal to you. And what's funny is that, so this year I coached Tri and Chaim, and I'm currently coaching Betsy Flint and Julia Scholes. And the makeup of those teams is the exact same personalities. So Tri and Julia are cut from the same cloth, where they could go out there and Tri could do 2 hours of passing, just rep, high line, jumbo, cut, set, and he's good. Whereas Betsy comes in, and if practice starts at 8, by 8:02, she wants to compete. And she wants to play some variation of the game. And so, as a coach, to manage those two personalities and to try to work a practice that appeases everyone in a manner where everyone's getting better. And that was similar to your
Don't give me
makeup.
mini games where I have to think and do math. He does that. He does these games. There's 3
Julie-
balls,
Julie
and then if
doesn't like
it goes
him
over
either.
there, and you got to throw it over there, and then you got to count to 10, and then I'm like, dude, come on, it's too early.
And so Betsy and Chaim, very similar. Like to compete a lot in practice, Tri and Julia. And so the practices were, it's kind of a blend of the two, where there's a lot of drilling to warm up in a way, and then we're competing. But when we're competing, I'm a big believer that variations of the game teach the game. And you can go out and you can just play 2-on-2 and you're going to learn and get a lot better. But what if we do 2-on-2, but we cut the court in half? And now there's going to be a lot more rallies. There's going to be a lot more touches. You need a lot different touch. Now what if we cut it long ways? And then what if we've been working on Tri's option. And Tri was optioning at 70% for the year. And we said, okay, we got that covered. We're taking your option away for a week. Now Chaim has to side out every single ball without the help of the option. And then so you just take their tools away, and you find that they have to get creative, and you learn and grow, and you have to adapt or you're going to lose. And so you can do drills while competing, and I think that that's kind of a pretty good meeting in the middle after getting the repetitions that's going to make everyone feel like they have gotten better in the areas that they want to get better. It's a great question. And as a coach, I wish I had an answer, but I learn a new one every day, and I'm like, damn it, I know nothing still. So Jamie, thank you.
Thank you.
So is this Jenna Hoagland? Jara Hoagland? Sarah Hoagland.
How did you get that?
I've never seen Sarah. S-E-R-R-A?
That looks like an
Wow.
S. It looks like an S to me.
Wow, that's a first time I've seen Sarah spelled that way. Thanks for coming on.
I appreciate it. Yeah. Well, huge shout out to you guys for coming up to Montana. Thank you so much. And the community, I think, here is really special. And so just showing a ton of gratitude for you guys to come and join. But my question was about sort of like how Libby touched on 7 years ago. This was like dirt, and it was a hazard even to come out and play. And it was hard. So I think it was 5 years ago I ran the first doubles sand league here. And it was like pulling teeth to get 12 teams to come out. But now this year we're capped at 20 and we maximize our space. Like we're full. And so I think here we're starting with a bit of a fresh slate for the whole like sport, right? And we have youth, we have just like a variety of skill sets. So like, what's your advice for like kind of starting with a fresh slate for this community? Like how do we provide opportunities for everyone with the different skill sets and like assets and things that they bring to this? And how can we sustain that through time?
Great question.
Yeah, that is a good question. I mean, I think with different skill sets, you can kind of build. I remember when I was a kid, they had like, with soccer, we had like these fast footwork days, and we had like these different days where we focused on different things. And I could go with adults or kids, or it didn't really matter. I got time to go out there and work on my skill. You know, you're not really compared to other people. We're setting things up. So it was like, you can just work on, like you said before, I like these little like things I can work on my quality of my game. So, I mean, you can set up stuff like that where you can all interact. I think that's what makes you guys like such a tight-knit family here, is that there's people from all ages and all that. But, I mean, yeah, just coming out and having that volleyball community and supporting the youth and having you guys support the youth so heavily, I think is huge. What else?
Well, I think there's so many things that are right. Like that Thursday night league last night, that's amazing that you guys have that. And I was laughing with Mickey, brings out his keg of beer. I'm like, so this is a Thursday night in Missoula, huh? We just play volleyball from 6 to 10 p.m. Sun's still up somehow, and everyone's having a great time. And then we have the juniors tournament all day today. One thing that I think would be great to add for the youth that me and Tri were talking about is a baby court.
Baby court, for sure.
So, because we were watching some of these girls, and they had to wind up, and they had to hit it as hard as they can to get the serve over the net. And then I would say 80% of the points that I saw ended in a missed serve or an ace. And I think that if you were able to give an opportunity for the younger kids to have a baby court where the net's lower and the court's smaller, and now volleyball actually looks a lot more like volleyball than just heaving it over the net, I think that would do the youth a lot more favor because it's so much more fun.
Yeah, imagine how many years in advance some of these people could get blocking reps. These kids could get blocking reps. They could start blocking 5-6 years before they ever actually get over the net and start blocking. For me, I had that as a kid. I grew up playing on this baby court at Outrigger, this famous baby court, right? And I legitimately remember blocking my friends and just loving it. And then I would go indoors and I'd go other places and people didn't know how to block like that because I just knew how to do it because I was on the baby court. So by the time I got over the net, I already knew how to shape my hands and I was very confident. And that confidence kind of just gave me the ability to like think that I was the best blocker and try to go prove it. So yeah, baby court's awesome, but also just creating like night matches. And these are things that people are going to remember for years, right? Like opportunities to play the game in an enjoyable way where you're connecting with other people. Like that's kind of what it's all about, and just having an impact on each other.
And that's for the youth. One thing that I think would be really fun for this area to add, and I've been joking about it, this Missoula Bozeman rivalry. Well, let's lay into it. And so one thing, I grew up golfing, so golf was my best sport. And one thing that we would do is our club, we would play all the other clubs in the area. So we'd get our best 8 players and we'd go to Bon Air Country Club on this weekend and we'd play against them. What if we set up just a little Missoula, Bozeman, you guys come to us for a weekend, you get your best 5 teams, like a college setup. 2 weekends later, we're going over there. Now we got something on the line. And at the end of the day, it is a rivalry, but it's also just such a fun thing. We're meeting up with our friends. You can make a little barbecue out of it. We got the Pearl Boba ladies can come out, dish out some boba.
Yeah.
I think stuff like that is so fun. When I was living on Panhandle in Navarre, Florida, we had something similar. So there was a community in Panama City. There's a community in Fort Walton, in Navarre, in New Orleans, in Pensacola. And so we started what was called the Panhandle Tour, where there was a tournament one weekend in New Orleans. The next weekend was Pensacola. The next weekend was Navarre. The next was Fort Walton, then Destin, and then all the way down to Florida. And it was awesome. And we had a little trophy and a point system. And it was great because it was something everyone looked forward to. There was friendly trash talk. There was some not so friendly trash talk. It was great banter. And it was something that people could get excited for and rally the communities around. So just building little intra-competitions, stuff that people can look forward to. And then when you have tournaments, people want to come out and get better. And then you're going to get a lot more people coming out here too. Yeah, so I'd love to see it happen.
It's on, Bozeman.
Yes, you can.
We have elk steaks for you, so if you need
No
that
way.
steak dinner before your next tournament, we'll hook you up.
Hell yeah.
Thank you so much. All right, next up we have Ron Veilleur. I'm crushing these
I'm
names.
glad Travis is reading those.
Howdy.
I've got a quick thing and then the question. If that's okay.
Sweet.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. We really appreciate it. And I want to turn back because I was just thinking about it. It was 3 years ago, and I'm certain a lot of people here were tuned in. But Tri, 3 years ago, just thinking about that path. We don't have to go through the whole thing of how you got there. I remember watching with my wife, and I was like, how is he playing at that level? How are you playing at that level, getting called in, going over there with a new partner, and then on the biggest stage, literally in the world? And were you the highest hitting percentage? At the end of the day, I think you were.
Yeah.
So what is that mindset? Was it loose? Was it locked in? I'm just curious because it was amazing.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, what an opportunity, right, for me to go sub in. Yeah, it was interesting. I think I've been doing all the work, right? I put in all the work to get there. Like I said earlier, on the whole process to get there, the reason it hurts so bad is because you didn't plan on losing. Like everything in your being is like set on actually making it. So I had visualized being there. I had done all the things that I thought I needed to do to be there. And I was still working out hard because I wanted to kick their butts when they came back from the Olympics. And so the opportunity came up, and it was like, you did everything. You did everything in your power to perform on this level. Now you just have to go out there and let it rip. Like that's kind of my whole thing with playing is I'm just trying to be present. That's why the funny thing that I don't know the score ever. I literally just trying to be as present as I can because I know that that's what brings out the best game of mine. And yeah, I mean, the emotions of like standing in that tunnel and walking down with Jake Gibb in the tunnel while It's literally the other team standing there, the refs are there. You're going to shake hands, and then they're going to announce your name. You're going to go into the stadium, and it's like, you hear the music, you're like, am I really walking next to Jake Gibb to go play in the Olympics right now? And but I first thing I did when I got there was call the sports psych. It's like, hey, I'm going to need you, buddy. We're going to need to meet nightly. And we just did mindfulness work and just kind of like practice. What's it going to be like out there? Like what's something when my mind goes to the pressure of it and the emotional part of it, like what can bring me back? And it was like, I remember it was the sand, right? I just pick up a little sand and just focus on the feeling of it. That's that mindfulness stuff that I really lean into, that really helps me in those moments. But being prepared, right? If you're prepared, then you just have to go out there and be present in the moment where it's time to apply it. You don't have to go out there and do something new. Pete Carroll came, and I was lucky enough to hear him talk to us in college before, because I went to SC, and he came and talked to us before we went to the Final Four and was like, the biggest thing that you don't want to do in a big moment, big game, is go play differently than you did getting there. That's when those teams melt down. Everyone calls them choking, right? You tried to play better than you played the whole time getting there. Like, that's why you're there. You've earned that moment because you play at a high level already. Don't try to go to be a better player today. Like, just do what you've been doing. Try to be present. And I think that's who wins those big games. Those clutch players, right? Everyone on the court kind of tenses up a little, and then you got Damian Lillard, who's like, I've trained to get more relaxed in these moments. So that's why we call him so clutch, because he just gets a little more relaxed. It's not really any different. He's just over and over more times in those moments is a little more relaxed and more willing to take that shot. And so I think that was a long answer, but it was preparation, I think. Yeah.
And my question, from a volleyball perspective, I don't know if you noticed, it's not as far away down for this chair for me. So I come, there's a few of us here that might have a little more defensive mentality. And over the past 5 years, offense is typically, advantage in beach volleyball. And over the past 5 years, it seems like there's been a softening, which gives a little more leeway on some of the setting, some of the jump setting where they're turning the ball a little bit, and it's becoming more offensive. And do you think that can continue? Do you think that trend can continue?
That's a great question, and one thing that I've said a number of times over the year, and Tri's heard me talk about it a lot, is that you look at the best teams in the world, and they're the best defensive teams in the world. You got Sweden, who's holding teams to 42% side out, which is obscene. And meanwhile, they're siding out at 71%. You got one of the best teams in the world, the women's side. Kristen Nuss, Taryn Kloth, number 2 in the world. Kristen, best defender in the world. The world champions, David Schweiner and Andre Perisic. You got the defender of the year. They win the world championships. Anders Moll, greatest blocker who's ever lived, in my opinion. They've been on an unprecedented run of dominance for 6 years. And so I think that while there has been a softening of the setting, which is allowing teams to do more on offense, and which is allowing players who wouldn't normally handset and have ball control to have that ball control, there has been a counter attack on the defensive end that it's just requiring more effort on the defensive end. And that was a big focus coming into this year for Tri and Chaim, in that their side out actually got worse this year, but their winning percentage went up by about 13%. And they scored, last year they won a total of 48% of the points that they played. This year they won 51%, and that's because Tri's block and serving was markedly improved. The volume that Chaim was digging was improved. And while they didn't get over the hump, I think that had we continued, like Vince Lombardi says, we didn't lose, we just ran out of time. And I think that it starts with defense. And so in my opinion, kind of a hot take, I think siding out's overrated. I think that you win matches in beach volleyball based on defense.
Yeah, I agree, for sure. I feel like blocking's kind of always been that focus for me, because I feel like that's where I can separate myself. I mean, if I hit if I'm being tentative, or let's just say I'm being trusting my shots, right, and not worrying about the defender digging it, because I'm confident in my block. If they transition, right, I have a high block rate in transition. Now I can be a little more aggressive. If I think maybe he's there, I don't have to be scared and be like, oh, I'm going to go even tighter. And that's when you start making errors, right? So like me being able to trust my block and my transition defense or regular defense and put put pressure on the other teams in that way is huge. I mean, the whole defense wins championship thing is should be the easy thing because you have the advantage in that moment, and it's the ones that can make defense your advantage that like separate and start winning, I think.
Ron, thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
We got Kai Whitehill.
No. The hunting culture. How's it going?
Amazing.
What did I write down there? That's right. I need to
Give him his
reference
card.
this again. Yeah. Man. Buddy, come here.
Hi.
Come lay down. How do you balance the culture of beach volleyball with the preference that there's a history of being cliquey versus opening up the game to grow? Yeah.
It's a good question. It seems to be clicky out here based on the responses. There's some woohoos. I get asked this question a lot when people move to Hermosa, and one of my good friends, this kid named Matt Hazel, comes out, and Matt, when he moved out, was a AA player, but he got into a lot of the top groups immediately because he worked hard, he was smiling and friendly, and people loved having him around. And I think that when you do that, people are going to want to have you at their practice, because if you're just going to work hard and you're going to do the drills and you're going to get better, and then eventually you're going to start challenging them while still having a smile on their face and making their day better, I think it's just be a good person, right? Just be kind, work hard, and I think that I've never found a huge cliquey issue with the sport, but I think like Tri says, I smile a lot.
Yeah. For sure. Well, I think also like when people come out to California, it's kind of intimidating, right? Like you're walking down the Strand and these are all like, you have Olympians and pros and really good volleyball players. The casual volleyball players are really good. But my thing is like, we like people to be around our court, just contribute to what we're all there to do. We all have a purpose. We sacrifice time to be there for that day to get something done. If you show up and start shagging balls, we're talking in the coaches meeting and you just kind of stand closer quietly, great. But like if it's day one and you come up and you're like, oh guys, you know what I think? It's like, just kind of, that's not contributing right now to, I got enough people to listen to. We have people that do that. They run up and they're like, oh, you know what I think about this or that? It's like, you might be right, but like I got these two I'm listening to and that's it. So like, yeah, if you become a part of a group that maybe they're more skilled, like show up and contribute to that group and what they're doing, and you'll just kind of mesh in with them, right? Some people kind of show up for selfish reasons at any level. Like we love having kids out to practice because they shag for us, but then they also listen a lot. And then we end up, hey, we need a target. Then they're on the court actually practicing with them. Like, this kid's playing with Olympians right now. Like, how stoked is he? And we like love that. But a lot of people shy away from it. They're scared of it because they don't want to, I guess, make us mad or like interrupt. But it's like, you can ask and if it's just playing here like at a more amateur level, just see what the people playing are trying to get out of it and contribute to that. And I think that's the best way to get in with groups.
Yeah, Kevin Barnett, I enjoy his commentary a lot. He just had a great saying, just create value. If you go anywhere and you create value, people are going to want to have you around, regardless if it's a social setting, if it's a beach volleyball setting, whatever it may be. If you bring that, I think that no matter what click is happening, you'll find a role in it. Thank you, Kai. So that's all the questions I have on these index cards. If anybody wants to come up and ask a question, it is full open season. Feel free. If you guys are talked out, we can have the girls play with Hunter and Brody. I'm sure that they've been looking forward to that all day. All right, Brody's ready. All right, thank you guys again so much for coming and hanging out. This was a blast. I enjoyed it.
Missoula will always be our first.
All right, we close every podcast. This will be a test for all the listeners out there. 1, 2, 3.
Shoots!